The rain had been falling in thin, shimmering lines over downtown Seattle that evening, as if the sky itself were trembling with anticipation. Inside a small, softly lit restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a florist, a man named Marcus Hale stood frozen just past the doorway, his breath catching in his throat as panic flooded his chest. He stared at the neatly arranged tables, the polished glasses, the elegant place settings, and the horrifying realization that he was in the wrong place. The reservation he had spent a week planning, the perfect restaurant he'd bragged about, the one he hoped would show her how much she meant to him, was 2 blocks away. It was too late. His date, Sabrina Keller, stepped in behind him, brushing rain from her hair, unaware of the chaos unraveling in his mind. And in that moment, Marcus wished the floor would open and swallow him whole. If you believe in kindness, second chances, or the quiet beauty of imperfect moments, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support truly helps us bring more stories like this to life. Marcus had never been the smooth, confident type. He was a financial analyst who lived most of his days in quiet routines and familiar places. After a rough breakup the year before, he had promised himself he would stay single until he figured things out, though he never really knew what that meant. Then one morning, while waiting in line for coffee, Sabrina walked in like a bright shift in the weather, warm smile, soft energy, an ease about her that made even crowded mornings feel gentle. She talked to him without hesitation, complimented his tie, and laughed at his awkward reply. For weeks he debated asking her out, but when she beat him to it with a playful note under his coffee cup, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: possibility. Tonight was supposed to be a chance to show her he wasn't just the nervous guy fumbling with coffee lids. He wanted to show her he could create something special. But instead, he was staring at a completely unfamiliar maitre d', telling him there was no reservation under his name. Sabrina noticed the tension in his shoulders as he clutched his phone, scrolling desperately, hoping for a miracle that wasn't coming. She watched him in silence for a moment, sensing the embarrassment radiating off him. And then, instead of frustration or disappointment, a tiny smile softened her lips. She placed a gentle hand on his arm, her voice calm and warm like steady rain. Marcus looked at her and felt his heartbeat trip over itself, because somehow she didn't look upset at all. But inside, he was spiraling. His mind raced through every worst-case scenario. She would think he didn't care enough, that he was careless, that this date meant nothing to him. The pressure of wanting to impress her pressed heavy on his chest. He apologized under his breath, once, twice, more times than he realized. Yet she didn't pull away. She didn't sigh or roll her eyes. She simply said they should stay and make the most of it, because maybe accidents were just hidden invitations to unexpected magic. The restaurant wasn't fancy. It wasn't the rooftop place with the glittering skyline view he'd planned. It was quieter, simpler, with vintage photographs on the walls and soft jazz humming from a small speaker in the corner. Marcus felt like he had failed her. Sabrina felt like she had just stepped into the coziest surprise. When they sat down, Marcus struggled to steady his breathing. His head was a storm of self-criticism. But then the waiter, noticing the slight tension, brought them 2 cups of warm herbal tea, on the house, saying they looked like they deserved a moment of calm. Sabrina laughed softly at that, and somehow her laughter, light, unforced, cut through the fog of Marcus's panic. She began telling him stories about her childhood in North Carolina, about the summers she spent helping her grandmother bake peach pies for the entire neighborhood. Her words carried the warmth of those long-ago afternoons, and slowly Marcus felt the tightness in his chest ease. The restaurant, with its gentle lighting and tucked-away corners, seemed to wrap around them like a soft blanket. Marcus found himself talking more freely than he expected, about his work, his far too organized apartment, his love for music he never admitted out loud. He confessed his fear of messing things up, how he always seemed to get in his own way. Sabrina listened with genuine attention, her eyes showing no judgment, only empathy. She told him everyone makes mistakes, and what mattered wasn't the reservation but the intention behind it. As they ate, the clatter of dishes and the hum of other conversations faded, replaced by a feeling Marcus couldn't quite name. The wrong restaurant, the place he was terrified would ruin the evening, was turning into the safest place he'd sat in for a long time. Sabrina wasn't just kind, she was intuitive, absorbing the details he offered and responding with compassion that felt like a warm hand on a cold day. By dessert, Marcus realized he was smiling without effort. It wasn't polished or practiced, it was real. Sabrina teased him gently about the look of relief on his face, and he admitted he had feared she would walk out the moment he realized his mistake. She shook her head and told him life rarely went according to plan, and maybe that was what made it beautiful. After paying the bill, they stepped out into the night again. The rain had stopped, leaving the city streets gleaming under the soft glow of street lamps. Sabrina tucked her hair behind her ear and looked at him with quiet sincerity. She said the evening had been wonderful. She said it felt honest, unpolished, real, and those were the best kinds of nights. Marcus felt something inside him unwind, like knots gently giving way. He walked her to her car, feeling lighter than when he'd arrived. But the night wasn't over. As she unlocked her door, Sabrina paused, her hand resting on the roof of her car. She turned to him and said something he knew he wouldn't forget: imperfection often revealed the truest parts of people. And the truest part of him, the nervous, hopeful, deeply caring part, was exactly the part she wanted to see. Their second date happened a week later, and this time, he didn't try to be perfect. They went to a casual diner Sabrina loved, where the napkins were thin and the pancakes were thick. Marcus didn't plan too much, he just showed up, open and present. Their connection grew unhurriedly but surely, like a candle flame slowly brightening a room. As weeks turned into months, the memory of the wrong restaurant became a cherished private joke between them. It was the story they told friends, the moment they said changed everything. Marcus eventually confessed that he had nearly talked himself out of asking her out altogether. Sabrina confessed she had almost given up on dating before meeting him. How strange, how beautiful, that two people on the brink of giving up had collided in one small moment that nearly fell apart but instead wove them together. When they celebrated their first anniversary, Marcus brought her back to that same little restaurant, the one he had walked into by accident. The staff remembered them. They laughed as they sat at a table by the window, reminiscing about the frantic look on Marcus's face that first night. Sabrina reached across the table and took his hand, telling him again how his mistake had led them exactly where they were meant to be. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach more people who might need a little hope today. Before we close, here's a special request: comment below and tell us whether you believe some mistakes are meant to lead us to the right places. And remember, sometimes the wrong turn becomes the beginning of something beautifully right.